Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Nomadic Network event. I know people are still trying to get on camera and their audio connected, so I'll give a few seconds. But um, while we're waiting for everyone to join us, go ahead and find the chat down below. Let us know where you're calling in from. And if you've ever traveled with a pet or your dog, or if you're planning to soon. And I'll do a little quick intro of myself in the Nomadic Network. So my name is Leah. Awesome. Yeah, find the chat. Gigi already was like, hey. My name is Leah. I lead the Los Angeles chapter. I'm also the co-creator of the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. And I also help run some of these Nomadic Network events. And in true traveler spirit, I am currently in a hostel in San Francisco. So I'm coming at you live from the common room in true traveler spirit. So hopefully you all can hear me okay. But Gigi will have the floor most of the time anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly and update you on a few things Nomadic Network. So for those of you that don't know, we are a global community of travel enthusiasts that launched in 22 plus cities around the globe by Nomadic Matt about 2 years ago. And we're doing live community events in bars and speakers and restaurants and whatnot. So of course we've pivoted to virtual events like the rest of the world, you know, with coronavirus, which is kind of a blessing because we are able to, reach more people, different hours of the day, all corners of the earth. And we're doing 3 different types of events right now. Book clubs, which I'll explain later. We're doing meetups, regional meetups, happy hours. And those are starting to pop up in person. And we're doing bigger virtual events like this one, where a subject matter expert like Gigi comes in and she shares her knowledge and expertise. So we're super lucky to have her today. A few things to keep in mind: you can totally turn your camera on, but please stay muted. Feel free to use the chat, just like I asked. You can type in question if you have a question for Gigi. Since it's a small group today, I actually might have you come off mute if you have a question and ask Gigi your question yourself so that we can spur that conversation. Like I said, we're super grateful that Gigi is here and talking about how you can travel with your dog throughout Europe. We're super excited to hear that. And we're here to learn, satiate your wanderlust, and have fun, because is travel back? Is travel not? Like, who knows? For replays, you can join the Nomadic Map Plus network. Go ahead and scan the QR code at the bottom here, or you can follow Nomadic Network on Instagram. You can also scan that QR code. I'm going to stop sharing. So with that being said, a few things about Gigi. Gigi and her beautiful Yorkie, Roger, have been traveling throughout Europe since 2016, and she is the creator of Wet Nose Escapades. They're on Pinterest, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, of course, and their own blog. So you can go ahead and check her out at, she has her handle and her screen there. And Gigi, I'm going to go ahead and pass the floor to you so you can teach us how we can travel with our dogs anywhere, or particularly throughout Europe.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leah. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity and the introduction. I'm Gigi, and this is Roger Wellington. He is the world traveling Yorkie. And we're just so excited to be here and talk about how to plan a dog-friendly gateway to Europe. Now, before we get started, I do have to put him down because he is the boss, so he likes to oversee instead of actually work. So I'll be doing the work, and he'll just monitor and make sure that, hey, I'm doing a good job. So I'll try to have him, say goodbye at the end or make an appearance, but he doesn't like to be in front of the laptop for too long. So I'll give him a treat. So say hi, Roger. Say hi. Okay. All right. Okay. So he'll be here right behind me. Okay. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so should you bring your dog to Europe? Europe is a very dog-friendly continent, even more dog-friendly than the US and other parts of North America. In many European countries, you can wine and dine with your dog inside restaurants, hang out with your dog at bars, and even shop for groceries with your dog. However, the answer to whether or not you should bring your dog to Europe is not always a yes. So here are some factors to help you make your decision. So number one, know your dog, right? Just because you like to travel doesn't necessarily mean that your dog should travel with you. Even though I teach dog parents how to travel with their dogs, I don't always recommend it. So, here are some questions to ask yourself before making the decision. Such as, do you think they, do they like to explore? Have they flown domestically before? Just keep in mind that your dog's first flight should not be a long haul flight to Rome or Paris. And other questions, would they be better off at home with someone you trust? Do you have someone who can take really good care of your dog? How do they behave when they're out and about? How well do they adapt to new environments? Do they tend to bark a lot? Do they have anxiety issues? And only you know the answers to these questions because you know your dog best. And number two, your dog's health always comes first and foremost. Travel days are tough for everyone, including or especially your dog. As valued family members, dogs aren't luggage to be hauled from place to place. So whether you have a senior dog like Roger or a 9-month-old puppy, your dog's health must come first and foremost. So make sure you get veterinary clearance and address any pending issues before taking your dog on an international flight. Number three, ultimately, it just depends on your itinerary and length of stay in Europe. Dogs need or should be given more time to rest and adjust. For instance, if you are planning to do a 12 or 14-day tour of Europe that includes multiple countries and many cities, then it's probably best to just leave your dog at home with someone you trust. Traveling with your dog is certainly rewarding and fun, don't get me wrong, but it must be done so through slower travel for the sake of your dog and not the ambitious type travel where you're destination hopping in an attempt to check off a bucket list or collect countries. And again, these are questions that only you can answer. Okay, so what to expect and how to keep your dog safe on international flight. Now, flying with your dog isn't as complicated as it sounds, but it does take some planning and preparation to ensure a smooth journey. Okay, so first, choose a pet-friendly airline. In the world of dog travel, not all airlines are made equal. Some airlines will not fly dogs, whereas others will only fly them via cargo for an exorbitant fee. In the past, I've gotten so excited over a cheap flight only to find out that that airline prohibits dogs on board. If you have a dog under 16 pounds, then you should definitely find an airline that allows dogs to fly in cabin. Now, I would only recommend air travel with your dog in cabin, where you can keep an eye on him or her at all times. But unless you don't have a choice, let's just say this is for a permanent or long-term move, or maybe you'll be in Europe for maybe at least 6 months or a year. Unless you're doing that, I don't recommend cargo transport, as it can be a traumatizing and stressful experience for your dog. But if you do have a dog larger than 16 pounds who's not a service dog, then your only option is cargo. And that's, again, entirely up to you to make that decision. But I would advise against it. Make a flight reservation for your dog as soon as possible. In the US, in-cabin dog travel fees to Europe are usually around $200 one way. And then as soon as you get that flight reservation for your dog, find the right carrier if you don't already have one. Transporting your dog in the wrong carrier not only creates discomfort for your dog, but it also can be life-threatening. Every airline may have slightly different acceptable dimensions for a pet carrier, so please check the website for the exact dimensions. Also, some airlines may impose a combined weight allowance for both the carrier and your dog, typically at 20 or 25 pounds. So definitely check for the guidelines. And once you find the right carrier, start carrier training in advance. It takes patience, time, and lots of treats. So I mean, I suggest investing at least like 2 months into carrier training before your dog's very first flight. And be sure to put like his or her favorite toys, treats inside the carrier to kind of entice them to go in and take a sniff. And start slow with a few minutes a day of having your dog explore the carrier, and then gradually zip it up. And then just, do it on a daily basis until he or she feels comfortable. Depending on the duration of your flight, you'll want to train them to feel comfortable inside for at least a few hours. Of course, the longer, the better, especially if you're flying, internationally. The more relaxed your dog can feel inside the carrier, the better they will fare on the flight. So that's actually very, very important. And then plan out meals along with water and potty breaks. Just as you probably wouldn't scarf down a big meal or down a bottle of water right before flying, your dog shouldn't either. Although accidents may still happen, even with advanced carrier training, you can help your dog minimize the chances of accidents on the plane by strategically planning out meals and potty breaks. So I suggest feeding your dog at least 2 hours before heading back to the airport, which provides enough time for digestion and relief. And then don't forget to exhaust your dog's energy before the flight. To ensure a smooth journey for your dog, you'll want to tire them out. If your dog can sleep like a baby on the plane, then all is well. Of course, I'm not suggesting that you, make your dog run a marathon or do anything extreme. That would be cruel. But tacking on, say, an extra 15 or 20 minutes to the walk or playtime will do the trick. But this essentially depends on your dog's health and physical capability. And please never allow your dog to struggle inside the carrier. No flight is ever worth your dog's life. We've all heard those horrific dog air travel stories. Notably, the death of the Frenchie puppy who was wrongfully forced inside the overhead compartment by a United flight attendant. So if you see or hear your dog panting or struggling inside the carrier, take him around immediately. I mean, even if it means going against the airline rules, acting fast can save a life. Okay, so required paperwork to enter Europe with your dog. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are based in North America, so US or Canada. So for travelers coming from the US and Canada, you'll need to take your dog to an accredited veterinarian for the following. So first, the ISO compliant 15-digit microchip. This is the standard for international dog travel. If you can't get a 15-digit microchip, then you'll have to bring your own scanner, which sounds like a pain. So just get the right microchip to begin with. And then, of course, there's a rabies vaccination, or proof of vaccination if your dog already has one. Just keep in mind that the vaccination must be done at least 21 days before entry, and that your dog must be at least 12 weeks old. And that the vaccination must be administered after your dog gets microchipped, not before. However, the vaccination can be done on the same day as the microchip. And then the EU health certificate, this is very important. Be sure to print out the certificate and bring it to the veterinarian for completion. I had to make an appointment with a specific vet who specializes in dog travel or animal travel. So check with your veterinarian office and just make sure that the vet has experience in completing these forms. And if you want a copy of the forms, I'm more than happy to send it to you after the event, but we can just take a quick look if you want. So this is for the US. This is the veterinarian certificate to the EU. And again, this is something that your vet should complete. Okay, and let me go back to full screen. Okay, and upon obtaining the completed EU health certificate from the veterinarian, then you must then need the paperwork endorsed by your local USDA APHIS office, and APHIS stands for Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, and that costs about I think the current rate is $38, and if you're in Canada, it's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and that's 20 Canadian dollars. And your dog must arrive in the EU within 10 days of the date of endorsement. So this step is very important. And once it's stamped, I mean, you're good. The EU health certificate is valid for travel within the EU for up to 4 months or until the rabies vaccination expires, whichever comes first. And if you plan on traveling frequently to Europe or within Europe with your dog, then you should definitely take your dog to a veterinarian upon arrival to Europe to exchange the health certificate for an EU pet passport. The pet passport comes in so handy if you plan on returning to the EU in the future. Basically, you don't have to go through the paperwork again. The pet passport will have like the rabies vaccination record, and you're free to travel within the EU. So, which is really awesome. But besides acquiring the required paperwork for your dog to enter Europe, it's imperative that your dog gets a thorough examination from the veterinarian to ensure that he or she is healthy enough to travel. You know, like I said, health always comes first. Okay, and moving on, if there is an additional step for entry, if your country of origin is classified as high rabies. So if that's the case, then your dog must also have a rabies titer test after 30 days, at least 30 days after the rabies vaccination. And samples must be processed at approved laboratories. Now, if your dog's lab results are within acceptable limits, then he or she can enter the EU after 3 months after the blood was drawn. Otherwise, quarantine may be required. And in the world of dog travel, we want to avoid quarantine as much as possible because it is a very stressful and traumatizing experience for your dog. Yeah, so, and here are some examples of high rabies countries as classified by the EU. This is really just a partial list. You can find the full list online, but I just kind of extracted some of the countries. So Brazil, China, Dominican Republic, Panama, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Morocco, and so forth. And also keep in mind that some countries in Europe may be considered high rabies, which means that your dog will still need to get a titer test before returning to a rabies-controlled country in the EU. Okay, so finding dog-friendly accommodations in Europe. I mean, the easiest way is really to find dog-friendly accommodations anywhere, not just Europe, is to use a travel site or app like Booking, hotels.com, Airbnb. Sorry, I'm gonna put Roger down really quick. Let's go. Yeah, my go-to site is actually Booking because I love how the search results include apartments and vacation home rentals, the same kind that's typically found on Airbnb, in addition to hotels. Now, after entering your destination and preferred dates of stay, you can start sorting and filtering your search results. Be sure to check the pet-friendly filter and set the price range. And don't be discouraged when you find when you find suitable places that aren't dog-friendly. If anything, you can attempt to negotiate. If there's a phone number on the listing, hey, pick up the phone and give them a ring and tell them about your well-behaved traveling dog. I can't guarantee that your efforts will prevail every single time, but it's always worth a try. The worst thing that can happen is that you get a big fat no, big deal, right? And you'll just move on with the search. Nonetheless, I've been actually very surprised by how accommodating some places can be, even the ones with a no pet policy. And the good news is that I found that it is possible to negotiate those pet fees, especially when I intend on staying longer. However, if you're only doing a weekend getaway or an overnight stay with your dog, then you probably don't have much leverage. But be polite but bold enough to ask for deals and discounts. Again, so what if it's a no? And you'll be surprised more often than not. Okay. And after your call, you can also follow up by email to increase your chances and get a confirmation in writing. And definitely be positive in your description in both the phone call and email. Vouch for your dog, describe him or her accurately, and don't forget to bring up excellent behavior and traits. Although you want to say the best things about your dog, you shouldn't withhold crucial information either, which may get you and your dog kicked out halfway during your stay. So don't take that risk. Okay, so using public transportation with your dog, it's generally very easy to take your dog on most trains throughout Europe, but do keep in mind that not all trains in Europe are dog friendly or pet friendly. Notably, Eurostar, which doesn't allow dogs unless they're assistance dogs as defined by the EU. However, in most countries, in the EU, small dogs travel for free as long as they remain inside a carrier, while others may charge a very small fee, like €7. In countries like Italy and Spain, the rules are pretty lax. So oftentimes you can, just take your dog on board, and it wouldn't be an issue. In the Netherlands, Austria, and Croatia, small dogs can even technically sit on their human's lap and not necessarily have to be inside a carrier. Now, for large dogs, technically they do have to be leashed and or muzzled, and you'll have to get a discounted ticket at generally like 50% of the original fare, although this isn't always enforced. So it's hit or miss, really. It just depends on, the country you're in and really like who's working on the train. Some staff are more lenient than others. But if you're crossing borders, don't forget to bring your dog's paperwork or EU pet passport. Make sure that the paperwork is up to date. And of course, your dog must be well behaved and not disturb other passengers. So, Roger is kind of like a born traveler, as you can see. He's just, he stays, he's pretty quiet for the most part, and he, can sleep through train rides, flights, you name it. Okay, so here are some examples of dog-friendly activities in Europe. Now, in the interest of time, I'll go over them quickly, and you can ask questions if you want at the end. Okay, so here is Roger, just hang out at a ruined pub in Budapest, and he has his water and some beers. Of course, we didn't let him drink the beer, so don't worry. It's just for photos. Okay, and here he is at the Colosseum in Rome. Now, dogs aren't allowed inside the Colosseum, but they're more than welcome to walk around and explore the exterior grounds, which is very awesome. And here he is shopping for groceries in Florence. Yeah, so there are dog designated carts in Italy. Right now he's just kind of, being pet by a local, and, the Italians love dogs. Okay, and he's roaming around the Louvre Palace in Paris. And again, in terms of museums, dogs aren't allowed inside, but they are more than welcome to, roam around the exterior grounds and take pictures. So it's very fun. Okay, and here he is, getting tapas in Barcelona. Okay, listening to some live classical music in Stockholm. Okay, cruising the Bay of Kotor in Montenegro, and there he is. Yeah, he has a little blankie with him. Just being a beach bum on the Greek islands. This is in Paros. Getting a Belgian waffle in Bruges. Just exploring Old Town Dubrovnik. And again, the beer is not his. Okay, just make sure. Okay, and he's getting the world famous soccer tour in Vienna. So again, that restaurant or that cafe, very dog, I mean, it's world famous and it's dog friendly. So it's very awesome. And here he is just chilling by the canal in Amsterdam. And many canal boat tours are dog friendly as well, which is great. Okay, now keeping your dog safe in Europe. So first, in terms of socialization, the difference that I've noticed is that in Europe, not as many people neuter their dogs compared to the US. So there may be a lot more growling, barking, or back leg kicking if you have two alpha dogs meet. If your dog is also alpha male, then you have to be careful with socializing to avoid confrontation. But it's never a big deal. Really just learn the basics of the language and then you can have a quick check-in before letting your dog socialize with other dogs. And pollution. Okay, so secondhand smoke is almost unavoidable in certain parts of Europe. So not only is secondhand smoke dangerous to humans, but it's also dangerous to your dog. Pre-COVID, I would try to sit indoors as much as possible when I'm dining out. But of course, that has changed thanks to the pandemic. So what you can do is try to skip peak hours during walks to avoid pollution from secondhand smoke and vehicle traffic. And busy touristy areas. So even though you've brought your dog all the way to Europe, right? Like you don't necessarily have to take your dog everywhere. In fact, it's best that you don't bring him or her to busy places where there's a lot of foot traffic. I mean, just imagine your dog trying to walk through like Times Square in New York City. I mean, it can be very stressful and dangerous for your dog. So similar with busy areas in Europe, skip the peak hours or leave your dog at home. Emergencies, locate a vet before your trip, just in case. This can save a lot of time in an event of emergency when you're just panicking. Outings, always pack a bottle of water and to-go bowls for your dog so he or she can have water and food breaks whenever necessary. And itinerary, going back to the itinerary, stay longer. Again, dogs need or should be given more time to rest and adjust. Since dogs thrive on routines, as we all know, staying longer is probably the best thing you can do to keep your dog healthy abroad. Okay, potential extra costs. So this is just a summary. Transportation, we've already gone over it. Flights, trains, whatever form of transportation you may be taking with your dog. You may have to potentially pay for your dog's reservation. As mentioned earlier, you could incur charges when traveling with your dog on a train, although this can be hit or miss, depending on the country that you're in. Accommodations, Europe has many dog-friendly accommodations, but not all will allow your dog to stay for free. Sometimes it'll cost an extra maybe 10 to 20 euros a night for your dog stay, and other times it'll be a weekly fee or just a flat rate. I try to avoid pet fees as much as possible, but there are some cases where it is what it is. Like there's no way around it, so I end up paying. But definitely try to negotiate and try to not pay those fees. Emergencies, emergencies can happen anywhere at any time, but the risk could be higher when you're traveling. But the good news is that with the exception of the UK, vet costs are generally cheaper than in Europe than in the US, especially if you're used to the high prices in like New York City, LA, and San Francisco, where we are based. And then dog food. This is obviously for long-term stays. Depending on which part of Europe you're in, you may or may not have access to the same dog food back home. So you may need to get the food shipped internationally or have your family order it and then send it over. Or to avoid extra costs, you can always make your own dog food, which is great. And a lot of times it's healthier. Now for Roger, he has been on a prescription diet for the last year. So it has been a little bit tricky, but luckily we were able to find his food in Spain last year. However, it would have been more complicated if we were in like Bulgaria, where we were a few years ago. And that's all I have. If you want more information on international dog travel, again, our blog is wetnoseescapades.com. Be sure to subscribe to our email list. And we also have an ebook. It's How to Travel with Your Dog. It's Roger Wellington's Expert Guide to International Dog Travel. And then our Instagram handle is at wetnoseescapades. We also have a YouTube channel, Wet Nose Escapades by Roger Wellington, Pinterest at Wet Nose Escapades, and Twitter is at Wet Nose Escapade without the S, just because there's a 15-character cap, so not by choice. And any questions? And so I'll let Leah come back in.
Awesome. Thank you, Gigi. Yeah. You can go ahead and stop sharing your screen.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that was so much good information. And for those that asked, I think you just, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
For those that asked, yes, you will be getting a copy of the presentation as a follow-up. So I'm sure you can also reach out to Gigi directly if you connect with her on any of their social media networks. I dropped all of her contact information and Roger's contact information in the chat. I definitely think we can all agree that he takes the cutest pictures. Oh my gosh, I just wanted to squeeze him. And Christine, thank you for bringing your doggo on screen also. And so since I think we had some great questions in the chat, and since we're a smaller group, I'd like to invite you to come off mute, anyone who has a question, and just take turns asking your questions. So, you can say them out loud. We create more of a conversation. So you can go ahead if anyone wants to share. If not, I can go ahead and read them out. Hi, Deborah.
Sorry, let me take it. Here we go.
Yeah, my question is about the titer test.
Okay, go ahead. I'm back.
Hi, Gigi. My question is about the titer test. I was planning on doing international travel a few years ago, but with COVID, that's all been put on hold. But I had my pet tested, had the titer test like 2 years ago.
Oh.
So he's had the test and then regular rabies shots since then. So do we have to get the titer test again? Or is once enough?
Well, where are you located?
In the
Deborah?
US.
Okay, I don't, so you went to go to Europe, right? With your dog?
We're going to be going, right.
Oh, you will be going. So you actually don't need the test.
Okay.
Yeah, the test is only for if you're coming from a high rabies country, in which you're not, unless you're flying from somewhere else. But if you're flying directly from the US, you don't need the test. All you need is, get him microchipped and the rabies vaccination, in which you already have, it sounds like, and make sure it's not expired. And then the EU health certificate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was curious if there are specific countries and airlines that you found to be most dog friendly. I kind of have heard Germany and France are very good. Lufthansa is supposed to be really good. And then I'm also curious about getting dogs on ferries and boats and things like that.
Yeah, so in terms of airlines, I don't have a specific airline that I really like. I know Delta is actually really good. But the thing is, I kind of go by pricing. So I don't have okay, I have to fly United or I have to fly Delta. It's more like I just go with whatever the price is right. But if I have to recommend an airline or a US based airline, then it would be Delta. And American is not bad too. Yeah, but within within Europe, you're right. Lufthansa is very good.
I've heard even just you can get a direct flight from the US to Germany, for example, on Lufthansa, and that they're one of the most dog friendly.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, like I said, I kind of go by. I'm more like I go by the budget, not necessarily. Okay, we have flown them, not necessarily to and from the U.S., but just within Europe, and they're great. And if you do fly your dog within Europe, it's so much cheaper. It's like 50 euros or maybe 70 euros compared to like here, right? Like even a Southwest flight is at least like $95. Yeah. So it makes dog travel so much easier and more fun when you're in Europe. And then your second question, in terms of the dog-friendly countries. France is great. Germany is also great, but my favorite is actually Italy. Yeah, just because, they're just, they're just
food and dog. You can't go wrong with food and dogs.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about, all the countries are, for the most part, they're great. Some countries are more dog friendly than others, but in Italy, I mean, really, you can walk almost anywhere with your dog. Like, you can shop for groceries, and that's not something that like you can do in France. Like unless things have changed since last time I've been there, which was in France, that was 2 years ago. But in Italy, like they actually have dog designated carts where you can put your dog inside and you can just, so it's kind of like a different level, like, versus like, you're just sneaking him in, with a carrier. It's like no one says anything, then that's like, okay, that they're dog tolerant, right? But then in Italy, it's like they actually make those accommodations. You can just walk in and out of restaurants, classy restaurants. It can be fancy, it can be, mom and pop. I was denied once in Rome, and that was my only time, but it was a little bit more of a touristy restaurant, so I don't know if that has a factor, but it only once. France has always been known to be like super dog friendly. You can hang out with your dog at Parisian cafes. And I also like Austria, Vienna in particular, just because it's very clean. Yeah.
I've been to Austria, and that surprised me because I would think that because it's so clean, they would not be super dog friendly.
Yeah. but isn't it nice, because then you feel, and there are poop bags, like, poop bag stations like almost everywhere. But so it feels better to walk your dog when the places, when the neighborhood is clean, because in especially like in Rome, sometimes there's like litter and like even like human urine, so it's not, it is dog friendly in that, where you can take your dog everywhere, but like if you want like cleaner spots to like walk your dog, I love Vienna. Yeah. And I don't think you can take your dog into grocery stores, but if you have a small dog and he's in a carrier, it's not a problem, but it's not like as accommodating as in Italy, or at least what I found. And in terms of ferries, it really depends on the company. I mean, Roger has been on ferries, but it's a lot of times they're like, oh, it's a small dog. Oh, okay, we'll just make a call. So from my experience, there's no like standard policy where like, okay, your dog,
Greek like, ferries don't have a ton of policy to begin with.
Exactly. So it just depends on like the individual, company. Yeah. So but I think if your dog seems to be pretty, I don't think he's that big, right?
He's a happy, friendly, little, easygoing, but he's right at the 20-pound mark. So I'm kind of like.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't give you like a definite answer, but I to be honest, like there's so much power to negotiating, especially if you're nice, you're polite. A lot of times, like, these companies, they want your money, and they're willing to make accommodations for you, especially if you're willing to like throw down, some money for a tour or like a ferry ride somewhere. They'll be like, yeah, go for it. Roger has traveled all around, the Greek islands. It's not a problem. Yeah. I think it was free. Yeah. Because as long as he was inside a carrier, but again, it depends on the company, because there are different ferry companies, but I don't think I can get back to you, but I don't believe we paid for his ferry rides around the Greek islands. Yeah. And he's done like different cruises too. And it just depends. Like but if you do have to pay, it's not a lot. Yeah. Right. It's probably like maybe like 20 euros or something. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
I was just gonna chime in. I'm so sorry I missed the first half. I'm so bummed out. I had a dinner that I couldn't couldn't get out of in time. But I'll look at all the stuff. But I just going to underscore what Gigi just said about Italy, because I just was there a week ago and I was so blown away by how dog friendly that place is. What Gigi said is so true. You walk along the streets, and I was just in small towns, not so famous. There's bowls all along the street. Like half the businesses have dog water bowls out.
Yeah.
And one in Rome, I took a picture of, there was literally like hooks in the wall on the sidewalk, and it said, you know, tie up your dog here. Like it was so friendly. It was so encouraging.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
It's wonderful. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know, Barney, are you in the US or you're in the US? Yeah, because here it's like you know, you can't do that with your dog, right? Like, you know, it has to be like a service
Cafes,
dog.
stores, all of that. That you just
And you have to sit outside, you know, it's just, and even when you sit outside, like the restaurants, or at least in California, like technically the restaurant owner can say no to to dog friendly, to your dog dining on their patio. It's up to their discretion. So it's not always a yes too, and we've been denied here. But in Italy, it's like, it's never an issue. Just walk in. Like Roger has sat his furry butt on a chair or behind me. Like he doesn't even have to be underneath the table. Like and it's totally fine. Like no one gives you nasty looks. No one questions you. It's just like, that's just kind of the norm. Yeah. So it's so like refreshing. That's why I love Getaway. Yeah. So I'm glad you went, Barney.
I have a question, Gigi.
Yeah, Karina.
So I was curious, you were mentioning the fees on the public transportation in Europe. So do they have like a weight requirement for what constitutes like a small dog versus a bigger dog? And do they like have kind of like a cutoff to what they charge?
It just depends on the carrier. They'll have the maximum carrier dimensions, you know, for that specific train company, right? So as long as your dog can fit inside that carrier within those dimensions, then more than likely it'll be free. Or if it's not free, it'll be fairly cheap. Yeah, like maybe €7. Or I know in Spain, like all dogs can travel for like €15, you know, just across Spain, all over Spain. So it just depends on their maximum carrier size. And it's not necessarily the weight. It's more like, okay, whether or not your dog can fit on your lap, you know, in certain countries, or sitting on your lap, or fit into the carrier. Yeah.
Okay. And then kind of going off of that, like, would you be paying a fee just like one time up front? Like if you, let's say you bought like a pass for public transportation, you're staying in a city for a while, or would you have to like keep paying every individual time you're bringing your dog onto the train or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah, there's no. I don't believe there's a pass, like a monthly pass, or it'll just be individual time. Yeah, but if you have a pass, that's fine. And then when you get there, or you can book it online nowadays. Yeah, and then you just book a reservation for your dog. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but if you have a small dog, I mean, do you have a big dog or a small dog?
He's small. I mean, he's 20 pounds, but
okay.
Yeah.
So So I mean, that can be, that's kind of like, you know, on the border. Yeah. Because I mean, it with a small dog, really, a lot of times they don't even care or even check. It just depends. You know, some countries are more strict than others. Like I said, like it's hit or miss. Like even with checking the documents, like pet passport or like the EU health certificate. You know, I've flown to France, you know, the first time, you know, I spent all, you know, the time and money, but they didn't even look at it. But of course, like, I don't recommend you not following the procedure, because what if they do check and then you're like, oh man, you know, like I'm screwed. And then like, what now? So, I mean, I definitely recommend following the rules, but whether or not they enforce it, that's another, you know, that's another question. So, I mean, but with small dogs, like, usually you'll be okay. Like you if you do pay, it's just like here and there. Like you won't have to pay much. I mean, we have paid for Roger before, but a lot of times like they don't. It's usually free because he fits inside a carrier. And if it's not free, I mean, sometimes like they don't even check, or we'll be like, oh, we have a dog here. A couple of times we're like, oh, we have a dog here. Are we supposed to pay? Like it's like we have to bring it to their attention. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. So it just depends. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
Hi, Gigi. Thank you so much for giving this talk. It's so helpful. I've had my captive audience here as well. And two quick questions about once you're in Europe, the carrier we use to travel with him on flights is sort of like a duffel bag type deal. And I was wondering if you had any recommendations for something that would be perhaps more akin to a backpack or something that's a little bit easier to carry once you're walking around the city. And then secondly, for days, say, if you do want to go into a museum or the Colosseum or something like that, would you have a recommendation of a site that's similar to like Rover, for example, where you could get a trusted pet sitter or someone to come in and walk your dog?
Got it. Okay, so the first question, I do have a recommendation. I can grab the carrier. Well, it's like a backpack carrier where, and Roger uses it all the time, like where you can roll it, you can carry it as a backpack. But just give me a second. I'll
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry. I actually don't have it here. But I will send you the link. It's pet gear. And yeah, it's like very versatile. So you can, I will send you the link.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So sorry. I thought I had it, but the thing is I travel with two carriers. So I have a backup carrier and I have his main carrier, and it is the green one. If you go on my blog, you'll see the green carrier all the time. So I mean, how big is your dog?
He's about 8 pounds. For context, this is it.
So perfect. Yeah. So he will love that carrier. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I thought I had it, but it's actually at my other place. Yeah. So this
no worries. Pet Gear is the brand.
Yeah, it's Pet Gear. And I think it's called like I Go or something. Yeah, but I will send it to you. Or maybe let me see if I can find it right now.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. If you see if I have it.
I think I found it, Gigi. I dropped the link in the chat.
Okay, great. I mean, did you? Okay, let's see.
I just went to the backpacks page.
Okay.
Right?
I can't look at. I mean, I don't. External link warning. Let me see. Oh yes, yeah. So it's you got it. So I mean, the one that we have is I think it's it's the Escort. Yeah, because the Plus Traveler, if you guys are looking at the link, the Plus Traveler is bigger, but the problem is that it's not always accepted. The dimensions are a little bit too big for in-cabin travel. So, but the Escort, that fits like right underneath the seat of most planes, just perfectly. Yeah. So check it out. Yeah, sorry, I thought I had it, but I don't. But yeah, I have the green one. And if you ever go on my website, like you'll see Roger like inside or outside of his carrier. Yeah, it's great because you can roll it, you can use it as a backpack, or you can carry it. Just so it's great, and it's perfect for a dog your size too.
I love it.
Yeah, and then and sorry, what was your second question? I forgot.
You're good. I was curious if you would recommend some sort of accredited site for like a dog walker or a pet sitter that's like comparable to Rover or something overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, unfortunately, I don't because I've never used that type of service, so it would just be like me, going online and giving you so I don't have a personal experience with that because I either take Roger with me or I just, leave him at the back at home, or the wherever we're staying for a few hours, and I'll just, kind of go back and forth just to check on him. I try, of course, if I don't want to leave him alone for like the whole day, but just a couple hours here and there, I'll do it. If I'm going to like a very touristy, busy area where he shouldn't go. Yeah.
Are you having were you having okay luck with that? Because I know like a lot of times in the States, even pet-friendly hotels say that you can't leave your dog in the room without you. And so I wouldn't even know what you're supposed to do. But is it easier in Europe? Yeah,
it's so much easier. That's that's why we spend a lot of time in Europe, because it's not, I have never run into that problem. But I know what you're talking about in the States. Yes. So in the States, yes, they have that. A lot of times they have that policy at hotels, but in Europe, no. I mean, as long as your dog isn't, of course, your dog. As long as your dog isn't barking up a storm, and like Roger is like generally pretty quiet. Like he'll just sleep. Of course, I walk him before I leave him for a few hours, so he's just, when he's back home, he just wants to sleep, and then I'll come back and then check on him and maybe take him out for another walk. Yeah, but no, no one has ever called me and like, oh, your dog's there like by himself. Yeah, I've never had that issue. So
Right.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I had a question. I have two dogs, both around 11 pounds. If I'm traveling with my husband, can we take both dogs on the same flight? I know some airlines have rules about only one dog allowed on the flight.
Yeah. So you can, but you have to make the reservation as soon as possible, because you're right. Like a lot of airlines will only allow up to a lot of times like maybe like 2 to 4 dogs on a flight. I think American allows up to 7. I mean, but but don't quote me on that. So but typically it's a handful of dogs that are allowed. So that's why when you make the reservation for yourself, you have to make the reservation for your dog immediately. Usually you call, or if you can't do it online, so you can reserve the flight for your dog. Otherwise, like if someone else beat you to it, they have so you won't be able to fly with your dog, and then you have your reservation, and then what are you going to do? Right? Then you can't take your dog with you. But yeah, you can definitely fly. Yeah, you're going with your husband, so you can each fly a dog. It's not a problem at all. Yeah.
Does your dog replace a carry-on piece of luggage?
See, that's I should have brought that up. Unfortunately, it does for most airlines, which sucks, because not only do you pay for the pet fee, right? You also pay to check in your baggage, because so it's like double though. Yeah, they're hitting you twice. So unfortunately, most airlines, if not all though. I mean, in Europe, like I said, it's way easier. Yeah, but if you're talking about like the States, a lot of times it is considered a carry-on more often than not, unfortunately. So you have to, you'll have to pay like that extra $60 or however much to check in your luggage. Yeah, but it's worth it. Yeah, I promise you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question. This
Hi,
has been great. Hi, thanks a lot. We don't have a small dog. We have a 20-pound dog and a 45-pound dog. And you said you recommended against the flights, the carriers and cargo, but you didn't go into details. Could you tell me why you recommend against the cargo?
Okay, well, just because like the temperature. I mean, well, first things first, like when your dog is in the being transported via cargo, they're basically, or I guess your dogs will be with the luggage, with all the baggage. So it's just the climate control. I mean, the climate can be, or the temperature, I mean, can be unpredictable. I mean, especially if it can be like really hot or really cold, like it can just be dangerous for your dog. Like first, that there's the temperature issue, and then second, it can just be a very traumatizing experience for your dog. Like, can you imagine, like he's basically alongside with baggage, and there could be a lot of shifting. I mean, for me, I mean, I can't. I mean, for me, I can't imagine just not having Roger with me at all times. But to be honest, I've met other dog traveler, or people who travel with their dogs, and they've done it, and their dogs come out healthy, and safe. So I can't say like, oh, it's dangerous like entirely, but I wouldn't do it if it's a short trip. Because I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the experience for your dog. Like it can be, again, like very traumatizing. And
that's really helpful. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm wondering if people position themselves in New York and get some sea travel. Have you heard of sea travel with larger dogs to get to Ireland, and then you don't have, I mean, just making the trip shorter for them, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like I said, it's really up to you. I can't say don't do it. I mean, I would advise against it, unless you really have to go, or you just don't, you can't trust your dog with anyone else, because it can be unpredictable, especially if you have like a stub-nosed dog, like a Frenchie. Those dogs, actually, I think a lot of dogs are actually banned from cargo too. So that's something I should have brought up. So it's not only advised against, but it's also like sometimes like it depends on your dog, the breed of your dog, that's even banned from cargo, because they've had a lot of deaths of dogs or other animals in cargo. And usually when you hear about like, dogs were, I guess, killed, upon arrival, it's usually via cargo, not in cabin.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm definitely no expert on cargo transportation, or transporting your dog via cargo. It's just that personally, I can't, I don't think I can do it unless it's for a long-term move, unless like, man, I, really have to take my dog. I'll be gone for a while. Then I would consider it. But otherwise, I want to see him right next to me at all times.
Because, I mean, obviously we feel the same way too, but we've got this issue, so we got to get. I mean, I don't even want to go if we can't go with both dogs. So that's the issue we face.
I know. So how long will you be gone for?
A year.
Oh yeah, then you may have to do it, and then like I said, like it's not, I'm not saying that your dog will die coming out of cargo. It's just that it's just if you had a choice, right, like between like in cabin and cargo, of course you would choose in cabin. But
also
like
maybe talk to your vet and see if they have any recommendations for just how to go about it, because they're more familiar with your dog and its personality and everything.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, but like I said, like I've talked to other people who have traveled with their dogs via cargo, and they land safely. So I don't want to say don't do it. It's just that if you had a choice, but a year, to be honest, I would consider it. If I had a large dog and I can't fly him in cabin, I would consider it at that point.
Well, and then we're going to the UK, which requires a quarantine for I think 9 weeks of your dog.
From the US?
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
maybe it's 6 weeks, but it is several weeks. It's more than a week that they require the dog to be held in a shelter to be watched for rabies, even if you have the passport. So
are you okay? Well, yeah, that's interesting, because because you can actually fly into, well, I know you have to do cargo regardless, but or not cargo, but you can fly, like for Roger, like he has flown into France, like Paris, and then take the Euro tunnel into the UK. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Barney, did you want to say something? Yeah.
No, I was laughing. That's a good workaround, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what most people do. And it's like 22 euros to get your dog into the UK. And you don't have to fly. Then you can bypass the cargo, transport. Because for the UK, you have, they are very strict. So in order, you have to fly into specific ports. And they don't allow dogs in cabin unless they're like a UK defined service dog. Yeah, so they are very, very strict. But yeah, but you can bypass it by flying into France first and then doing the Eurotunnel. But in terms of quarantine, I'd be interested in seeing, if you want to send me what your
I will. I'll send it off to you.
Yeah.
Luckily, our vet, his wife is from Germany, so they're back and forth with their dogs all the time. And but that's Germany, and he knows anyway. He does the pet passports and on, so that's
so maybe that's interesting because from what I know, you just need like a tapeworm treatment for your dog, and like 5 days before getting into the UK, and then you're good. So I don't. Yeah, I'm not.
The last time I explored it in depth was a couple of years ago, and so maybe with Brexit being more complete than it used to be, maybe that's things
maybe things have changed, but I don't think there's a quarantine if you're coming from the US. But. Yeah, but
I'll look again. I'll send it to you if I find it. I'll tell you either way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or like, but I haven't. I mean, but to be honest, I haven't flown like directly into the UK because, like I said, you can only fly your dog via cargo, and I've always tried to avoid it. So
Heathrow's a nightmare, anyways. Heathrow's terrible.
Bobby, I can just know a tiny bit about, you asked about taking a boat. And I was just Googling that last week. And of course, you never know. I can't vouch for the information on Google, but I read an article that said the only cruise company that has good facilities for dogs is Cunard, is the QM2. Which does have a whole fancy dog kennel, but you can't have the dog in your room. You got to go visit them up on the 8th level in the dog kennel. But they do have the QM2.
Yeah.
Well, that would certainly make an event of it, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done the ferry to the UK, but I've definitely talked to other people who travel with their dogs. Like they've done that. That's another way to get into the UK. but yeah, I mean, but yeah, if you want, you can contact me via email. Maybe I can help you look through some of your research. I'm not like the top expert, but I can tell you what my experience has been. Taking my dog.
I totally appreciate that.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions or
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no. I was just going to say thank you for everybody.
I thought someone wanted to ask any last questions for Gigi and Roger. Good. All right. Thank you so much, Gigi. That conversation, especially the Q&A, was awesome. And thank you everyone else for coming with your engaged questions. I hope we're all going to go to Europe with our doggos now. I'll meet you there. My beagle could never. So she's very leash reactive. So I know she loves other people, but can't coexist with other dogs apparently.
You have to bring Europe to her.
I know, right? Wow, that sounds real expensive. But thank you so much, Gigi. And thank you all for coming with your dogs on the screen. That was so sweet, so cute. Love seeing all of that. Please reach out to Gigi if you have any other questions. I dropped her contact information a few times in the chat. And I'm just going to go ahead and share some closing slides with the Nomadic Network. So if you found this presentation valuable and Gigi helped you out with, how to plan a dog-friendly trip to Europe, we encourage you to check out Nomadic Map Plus, which is our proprietary membership network. And there you'll get TNN event replays if you've missed any, monthly giveaways, stories, live Q&As with Matt, and free swag as well. So you can head to the website or you can scan the QR code on your phone and that should pop up. And here is a list of our upcoming events. You can just go to thenomadicnetwork.com/events. Tomorrow we have how to take better portraits while traveling. We have a destination focus one on Puerto Rico coming up, how to travel gluten-free, taking a Cambodian tuk-tuk adventure. And then November 3rd is our next book club with Beyond Guilt Trips. That's the name of the book by Dr. Anu Taranath. I hope I didn't butcher her name. And Nomadic Matt himself will be chatting with Dr. Anu about the book. You don't have to read the whole book or any part of it even to attend. You could literally just come and listen to the conversation. Oh yeah, so I already explained it, but yeah, Wednesday, November 3rd at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So we hope to see you there. And it wouldn't be the same if it was just Gigi and myself and Roger speaking, because like I said, my reactive Google could never get on a plane. So thank you all for coming with your amazing questions and your doggos on screen. And we hope to see you next time. Thank you again for being part of this community. You really make it what it is. So go ahead and give Gigi and Roger, show them some love and support by following them on their social channels and heading to their blog.
And Roger wants to say bye really quick. Yeah.